Hey everyone, today I'm going to review the Graco Magnum X7 True Airless Paint Sprayer. Use a good quality paint, #1 rule, and with this sprayer you do not need to thin any of your paints. I'm going to show you first of all how to get things set up. This is your spray gun, but we need to put the tips and the air sprayers on here. So we're going to put this guy on first. You're going to take your spray tip, just insert it right inside. Now this will twist depending on spray position. Now this is spray position, the short end pointing out. And this is the unclog position. Depending on how you spray, if I'm going to be spraying left to right, this is what it's going to look like. If I spray up and down, my kind of orange guide there is going to be top and bottom. So we're going to add this to the gun, just kind of like screwing on with a garden hose. So as I tighten this up, I'm going to make sure that this is pointing horizontal. Pretty good. So now I have it in my spray gun. When you put it in the spray condition here, when you actually look at it, you can see that spray tip right inside is kind of up and down, and this is your indicator of the spray pattern you're going to get out of it, the gun. All right, so again, this is the spray position. I'm going to put it back into the unclog position to get things started. So let's do this. So here's an up-close look at the gears on the Magnum X7. Let's start with this side here. You want to make sure when you're starting to prime this, you can see that there is a high spray position and there's a start position. Keep it in start position. Secondly, over here there's this knob, just goes up and down. Up is the prime condition. Down is for spraying. Lastly, you'll notice right down over here, this little button. That's going to help loosen up the gears for us to prime it. Finally, the last button is this one, the on and off button. All right, so for setup, I want to make sure that I'm in the start position here and am, and I'm going to put this knob up to indicate that I'm going to prime it, and then I'm going to press this button over here twice. We want 2 buckets. You can see I'm a Texas Longhorn bucket and my regular Lowe's bucket. Get some water. The Magnum X7 will actually come with this little piece that you can put onto your garden sprayer. I like just to have it on throughout the whole process. It's just easier during startup. Turn that knob, it'll start flowing water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up one of my pails with some water. This is called your suction tube, the one that has the screen on the bottom. It's going to suck up all the paint. This is called your drain tube. It's the smaller one. So the first thing you're going to do is separate these out, and you're going to put your suction tube, and we're going to sit it in this bucket of water. There it is. It's now submerged in water. You're going to take a smaller pail or whatever pail you have, and this is going to be your drain tube. So put your drain tube right into that bucket. So again, make sure that your knob is in the start position, your prime lever is upward. You're going to press this button twice to release the pressure, and then you're going to turn this on. So you're going to run that for about 20 seconds and then turn it off. All right, now we're going to do a little bit of changing around of our buckets. So I still want my waste pail, but I don't need my water pail anymore. So now we're going to cover paint. I've already mixed this up. So what we're going to do is take our suction tube and we're going to put it right into our paint can. So give it a little shove there. All right. Let's scoot it back so it's nice and center. Now with this drain tube, you're going to keep this aimed in the drain pipe now. We're going to do the same process again, but now we want to have that paint fill up our drain tube, and the moment we see it start coming out, we're going to switch it off. So pretty fast process. You'll see I immediately transfer it back to the paint can so I don't lose a lot of paint. And now you can just secure the drain tube directly to the suction tube, just like I did there. Next step is our sprayer. So let's prime our sprayer. Okay, so for this next step, again, make sure that you are facing your paint tip to the unclog position, which is going to be kind of the fatter end pointing out. And then what we're going to do is you're going to disengage the trigger lock if you have that on. That's just this rotating lever right here on the side. So bring that down so you can squeeze the trigger. Squeeze it, point into your waste bucket, if you will. And then with your prime lever, you're going to put the prime lever and you're going to point it down. With this still engaged with the trigger still pulled, you're going to now turn on the on switch. And the moment that it starts to spray out paint, you're going to release the trigger. Okay, so once you have paint coming out, that is when you want to change your paint tip to point forward of the spray mechanism. You no longer want the unclog. You want it on spray. All right, now you're ready to go. You can lock your trigger, and I like to clean up my bucket and then I start spraying. So I'll show you how that goes. One thing you never want to forget when you are using a paint sprayer is to wear an N95 mask or better. I have black paint, and even wearing this mask, I swear I will be sneezing black snot for the next day. Before you start spraying, make sure to increase your pressure knob. It was in the start position, but depending on how thick your paint is, you'll probably want some more pressure. You will know if you don't have enough pressure if when you're spraying, it doesn't look like an even coat. You might have kind of a line on the outside of the edge, and then you might be missing kind of the quarter depth on each side and then have kind of a thick center. So the best way to figure out what you need is to use test spot. So I'm going to be using this kind of scrap piece of wood. This one is kind of a good test spot just to make sure that my spray pattern is correct. When you're spraying, you want to stay around 12 inches from the surface that you're spraying, and I recommend placing your boards down. Use gravity to help the settlement of the paint, otherwise you get a lot of drips, and make sure your sprays are consistent with the rate that you're moving around on the board. And this will spray paint very quickly, so don't stay in one spot too long. I move very, very fast. Or doing a project that you're going to go through more than 1 gallon of paint, keep in mind that with this suction tube, the inlet valve, the very bottom, if it starts to suck in air, and it's probably like that deep, so like 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit over that, if it starts to suck in air, you're going to have problems. If you get towards the bottom of your can, sometimes what I like to do is I'll use something to tip it up. It's probably not the best. I'm sure I could probably tip over my paint can, but it gets me more use out of the paint in the can. The other method is if you had a couple paint cans, you could just swap them out, and once one starts getting low, you can fill it up with the remainder of the previous can. But something just keep a watch on, because it is a pain in the butt to have to correct your system after it's taken in that air while you're in the process of painting things. So just keep an eye on the paint level in your can.